there is the potential of this actually happening. We've not seen it since the 1950s, but a rookie winning MVP in the NFL. And CJ Stroud is at least in the conversation. Another fantastic performance yesterday. Yeah, it was a bad pick late, but engineered the game-winning drive for the Houston Texans to go down and win that game in Cincinnati. He did it last week, as we mentioned and talked about, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he has been lights out. We've talked about the Rookie of the Year odds. I mean, it's over. CJ Stroud's going to win that going away. But what he has done for the Houston Texans and for that organization, they are light years ahead of what anybody thought they were going to be projection-wise before the season started.
He's second in the league in passing yards. He's thrown for over 800 yards the past 2 weeks, led him to 2 epic comebacks. He's thrown 15 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. And this, so offensive rookie of the year is over. Maybe MVP if he stays on this path right now. They were playing without Nico Collins, who's been good for them. But, I mean, look, the conversation then, and it started a few weeks back when they scored off Houston versus Carolina. And then now it's kind of continued the past couple of weeks. Like, the thing that I think has showcased itself is when you looked at CJ Stroud coming out of Ohio State, he was lethally accurate, and in particular, lethally accurate down the field. And that wins in the NFL. Like, his play from the pocket, the way he can move within the pocket, make throws, and how accurate he is, and his decision-making was all on display. It's why he was taken number 2 overall and was in the conversation for number 1 overall, I'm sure, with the brass there in Carolina. The interesting thing is the team that's around him. Like, this sneaky is like a good roster. Tank Dell has been phenomenal. D'Amico Ryans is their head coach. It should be up for Coach of the Year right now. I mean, if the playoffs start today, they'd be a playoff team. They'd be the 7th seed right now in the playoffs if the playoffs started today. So it's kind of crazy to think about, where this AFC South is, because they might be the best team in the AFC South.
I was about to say, I was waiting to see if you were going to say that. They could possibly win it. They could win their division, and that would be, to me, I think that you would have to have grounds to give award CJ Stroud, possibly with the player, the MVP award.
Well, and D'Amico for that matter.
Yeah, think about absolutely, that. Absolutely. I mean, you go from how many wins did they have a year ago? It wasn't many.
3?
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, 3 wins. Come on, man. You go.
They've almost doubled that already. They're 5-4 right now,
and they've been bad for a while.
And here's the other thing: is they haven't really been able to run the football. Like, if you actually look at what's more impressive, is he's been carrying them in that sense. Like, he's had to do what he's done in order to give them a shot in games this year. And so that's what kind of stands out, is even more remarkable about it. Now, we're going to get comparisons, and everyone's going to say, hey, he should have won number 1. And look, maybe he should have. Maybe when it's all said and done, if this continues, yeah. Like, in a rookie year, if you're on MVP, in the MVP conversation, then yeah, I think you're proving a lot of people that were wrong. Even though I still would say, if you look at Carolina's situation, it's not an apples-to-apples comparison. I think it's a much more difficult conversation with what the Panthers are dealing with than what the Texans are dealing with. But that doesn't take away, by the way, from what CJ Stroud's done. Like, you can still have that conversation.
Like, I mean, we were doing the same thing back in 2016 with the Wentz and the Goff stuff. Like, early on, it looked like Carson Wentz was the better pick, and then
Pennsylvania, 3 games in the season.
So, like people trying to almost air out Bryce Young and saying, "Oh my God, what a terrible!" Like, some places take a little bit more time. Carolina stinks, all right, and they've got a lot that they've got to work through. CJ Stroud has been awesome. Like, it has been really fun to watch, and easily the best quarterback in that division. I mean, he's outplayed Trevor Lawrence from the jump, and so just to see that play out and see where they're at, it could come down to a 2-horse race for Coach of the Year. And so, I mean, listen, Brady, you can't ride the fence on this. You got to pick. Is it KOC? All right, careful, LaVar, or are we going with D'Amico Ryans to win Coach of the Year? What are we looking at here?
What do you mean you can't ride the fence? The season's like halfway over.
Yeah, but let's start calling shots here. I'm going Kevin O'Connell. I'm going Kevin O'Connell. You make fun of my voice all you want. I'm going Kevin O'Connell.
Well, it's just like, yeah, you can. Like, you don't have to make that decision now.
Oh, I'm making it. Kevin O'Connell.
Okay.
You got that, Lee?
You get so sensitive. Yeah, make fun of my voice. Well, it's the way you're saying it. Like, you're going, well, yeah, you can't. Like, well, no, you can. There's no point. Like, you could, by the way, I almost feel like they should pick one from each conference. Because you end up a lot of times missing out on guys who are very deserving of the award, but don't, like, they're in the conversation, so there's the appreciation. But there really should be like a coach of the year in each conference. I think that would be fair, only because I get it. There's only one MVP and all that, but there's still oftentimes you get two coaches who've done a really, really good job, and they should be rewarded for it.
Do you think part of the reason why rookies don't win MVP is kind of like the Heisman Trophy trying to win it 2 years in a row? It's almost like it's a knock against you the following year, because like the guys that are favored to win it over CJ Stroud, I could argue him against a lot of these guys. Like Joe Burrow has got better odds to win MVP. Like I think CJ Stroud's had a better year than Joe Burrow. Like you can go through like Josh Allen. I think he's had a better year than Josh Allen. Like Goff's on the list, Tua Tagovailoa. Like there's a lot of players on that list, and I just wonder if part of the knock on it is rookies don't normally do it. As we mentioned, we haven't seen it since the 50s, and maybe that's what's holding this back from being a possibility. If we're looking
well, generally, I would say on what you're saying, there's some validity to it, because you have to almost earn the right to be considered the best, right? So it's kind of like, unless you are just outright, unquestionably just better than everybody in the entire league during the course of that campaign, it's more of a setup year. Your rookie year is a setup year. Like you can become a Pro Bowler, you can even become an All-Pro, but it's almost difficult to even be a first-team All-Pro as a rookie, especially at the quarterback's position. And because it's less, right? You only have one quarterback, so it's kind of like linemen. You have more opportunities. Right, you have different positions. You have more opportunities to get recognized. At the quarterback's position, you don't, and it's almost like your rookie year is your setup year, or whatever it is it may be. It's your setup year to say, okay, yep, this guy is the best. Like going into his sophomore season, he'll have more of an opportunity to actually unseat some of the guys that maybe not have been more deserving of the award, but their body of work has created a credibility where they'll always get the benefit of the doubt.
Can I tell you something unbelievable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many games has Kirk Cousins missed now?
3?
Is this 2? 2 weeks now?
Yeah.
Okay. He's still top 10 in passing yards. He has 18 touchdown passes, which would be tied for second in the NFL. It's only 5 interceptions. He was completing 69% of his passes. Like when I was thinking of it, when I was thinking of a case of like now that I look at the numbers, I would say statistically speaking of active quarterbacks right now, CJ Stroud would be my vote for MVP. Like when you compare his numbers to everyone else that's a starting quarterback right now, he's got better numbers, with the exception, I'd say, of Cousins, which is shocking because he's missed 2 games, and yet he's thrown for more touchdown passes, completed a higher percentage of passes, threw for more yards per game. In that span, he's missed the last 2 weeks. So that's the crazy thing. But if you had to vote right now of active quarterbacks, like Stroud should be the MVP.
100%. Like just everybody like on DraftKings right now, I'm looking through the list. Like Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes are the co-favorites, or the 3 favorites at the top. And then you've got Tua, Joe Burrow, McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, Josh Allen, Jared Goff. You can argue him against every single one of those guys. Every one.
I get it. Tua's got more touchdown passes. He also has more interceptions, for that matter. And he hasn't thrown for as many yards. But the reality is, like, he is right up there in that conversation. And I think we'd all agree, too. Not saying that, I mean, because we saw last year when Tua got hurt, it's a completely different team without him at quarterback there in Miami. But you could make the same case if Stroud's not there. It's a completely different team too in Houston. Like I don't know that they don't have a running record, and I don't know how competitive they are. So if you're saying most valuable player, I think he could make a really, really strong case right now. And I think that's the one thing where if you were trying to make a case for Kirk Cousins, like, well, they've won the last 2 games, even despite the fact that he's missed out on that. So maybe you'd say, like, yeah, he's statistically did great, but maybe not quite as valued.